Frog Slicer. Do anything.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Frog Slicer. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who's been subscribing. My channel's been growing really fast with basically a little effort on my end, so I really appreciate all of you. The point of this video today is I've noticed that some people are actually interested in playing my deck. So this is kind of a disclaimer slash guide. First and foremost, my original build used Gashilnadon instead of Death Frog as a level 5 non-tuner to extend into Stardust Dragon for your stable board state. People who haven't bothered to watch my video or just randomly pick up the deck because they saw the deck list online, if you try to do that, you don't stand a chance with the deck. So watch this video, and if you haven't, share it with someone who actually wants to play the deck. For those who don't know, there's a little controversy that always surrounds me playing this deck in these big tournaments. Whenever I come up on stream, which has been every single time, someone or Keegan is like a little upset that I'm taking so much time. But you know, I usually play respectfully, and I have a little bit of a reputation in the community for being respectful, so I have that going for me. But if you guys don't have that, then you're kind of screwed, and that's why we have this rule that you're seeing on screen. The format library Discord and all of the Ribbit tournaments moving forward, who knows what they're going to be called next year, but we have this new rule that's basically been imposed because of me. When repeating a combo loop, demonstrate it once, then declare how many times you wish to perform it, then skip to the end of it. If a turn takes longer than 15 minutes, with no interaction or play from the opposing player, the player taking that amount of time, or more, will be given a game loss for slow play. This first rule is really great for our combo. In my first tutorial video, I spend a lot of time explaining how to do the infinite combo and kind of shortcuts you can do to save time with your hand movements, and those kind of translate as well to playing on Dueling Book. And I also had an experience at the most recent Ribbit where somebody actually made me demonstrate the full infinite, which took a lot of time and put a lot of pressure, and it's kind of the sole reason why we have this rule in the first place. So this second rule doesn't have anything to do with me. There is a perception that I take a long time, but I definitely spend less than 15 minutes per turn when I do my full combo because I understand it. But this is more for any of you guys who are considering picking up my deck. You need to know it inside and out. It will take you close to 15 minutes, if not longer, if you have to stop and think about anything. 15 minutes is pretty good because you can still take, the 30 seconds you need to start your first play, or if you get a little hiccup, they always happen. But if you don't know your deck well enough to bring it to Ribbit, you shouldn't need more than 15 minutes to take a turn. So this rule is okay. Because this combo is so unintuitive, Mika added some extra text to the Exodius ruling he has for his personal database he uses. If any of you don't know, Mika is the head judge for all these tournaments and is basically an Edison knowledge god. So what we have here is a bunch of bullet points for very specific conditions that really only apply if you're playing this exact deck. The only thing you really need to worry about is the states you get to perform the loop once, and then what you need to do immediately afterwards, so you can communicate to your opponent and to a judge exactly what's gone down. So I want to show you guys the most efficient ways to hit those infinite loop breakpoints. That is to say, you get to a very specific state that's listed on Mika's document, and once you've done it once, you can just declare that you'll be repeating it X times. So I'll be demonstrating the infinite draw loop through that method, exactly what you want to look for, and then I'll be demonstrating the Gotham's discard loop with the exact same way. I just made this replay earlier today, and so what we have here is the sturdy board, that the pseudo unbreakable board, that is this clock with flip-flop frog, and really it's just setting up for infinite. So in our deck we have a bunch of frogs, we have 3 swaps, 2 poisons, 1 unifrog and 1 death frog, and we also have 2 substitutes and a plague. Everything else is in our grave. So we just drew for turn. It doesn't matter what it is, because what we're going to do is we're going to start our turn by flipping up flip-flop frog and bouncing everything you have, if they had anything. We're also going to use substitute here to pull out our unifrog, because we're assuming that they have perhaps 1 face down, or we're playing through back row of some kind. But for this demonstration, just assume it's like a face down Solemn Judgment or something. So we're going to go ahead and go for a unifrog, and we're going to poke to destroy that Solemn and attack with Stardust. So now we're going to use Substitute to get rid of Unifrog. And we're going to use Swap Frog's effect that we just summoned to kill the Dupe Frog to get anything back. I usually just use Unifrog and flip-flop here. But all we're doing is we're collapsing the board. If you guys have watched any of my videos, you've seen all this before. But yeah, so all we're doing here is we discarded flip-flop for Fishborg. We summon the Exodius, and all you want to do before you summon Exodius is make sure you have Substitute out, Wall face up, and a Fishborg Blaster out. You can do this with 2 monster zones, but it's easier to do it with 3, so here's how we do it. Yeah, so you get to maintain your card advantage with Thunder Dragon. And because Iron Wall, you get to bounce Exodius back. And we're just going to go ahead and start the beginning of our infinite draw loop. So yeah, you pull out a Poison Draw, and then you pull out another Swap Frog. And this is the first step of the draw loop. So here we will draw our first card. Okay, so when Poison Draw died, we drew a card. So this is the state that is listed on the first of Mika's 2 Exodius condition rulings. So we meet it here. You can go back and look at it if you need to. But now we can just say, hey, at this exact board state, we can repeat it, and it should look exactly like this every time. So we're just going to go ahead and draw, I think I say it right here, draw 11. We're going to do it until we have exactly 0 cards in our deck. So that saves a lot of time. But what's important here is there are specific cards you need to discard to continue into the Gothams loop. I think you still have infinite. I think you're able to put cards back, but you'll end up going -1 every time. So it's like counterproductive. But yeah, so you want to go ahead and discard Death Frog because you're trying to put this back in the deck, so you can synchro with it. And all you're doing is putting back those, and you're gonna just keep that Thunder Dragon out of the deck. Go ahead and bounce it to preserve it so you can do it again. And here we're going to tune into Brio. If they have anything, you discard whatever. You have an infinite draw loop, so if you want to get rid of anything else they happen to have, you just do this and then go back and repeat the infinite draw loop. But you want to make sure that when you're at some point here before you get to Urbellum, you discard Plague. Otherwise, you could get bogged down with monster slots. But yeah, so go ahead and summon the Plague. And this is not the start of the Gothams loop. This is just summoning the Gothams to begin with. And here you see we still have Stardust for protection. We could get rid of this because there shouldn't be anything there with Brio. But ultimately it saves time because once you've done this, if you're repeating loops, you might want to go back to a solid board state. So leaving the Stardust just saves time. But yeah, so all we're doing is sending everything back. And you see we don't have the swap, but we know we have swap index, so it works out okay. And I'm demonstrating the Thunder Dragon thing again. Go ahead and pull out that swap. Make sure you bounce with Exodius. And you don't have to Thunder Dragon, but in theory, it's easier to do conservation of resources, so you don't have to backtrack and do the infinite draw loop again. You got another Brio. And here, we make our Urbellum. So once you sacrifice this Urbellum, that is one successful declaration of this infinite loop. So you can on the second list of bullet points for Mika's rulings for Exodius, is once you have this exact board state, then you can infinitely discard your opponent's hand. In theory, you have to discard, I think you go -2 in hand every time you do this, but you also can just go back to doing the infinite draw loop as well. So it's just, you've already declared twice in 2 separate instances the infinite loops you can do. So this is good. So here you can just say, I will declare I'm discarding your whole hand. And since you have infinite card advantage, you can go ahead and tailor your field to whatever you want, as long as you have the 2 monster zones available to keep on recurring the Exodius. And then you end back on a sturdy board, maybe something like double Stardust, or you leave a Gothams or something. But yeah, you basically have exactly any 6 cards you want in your hand when you pass turn and they're top decking. So that's just a really simple demonstration. It really does save so much time if they actually make you do it. But the reality of the situation is, if you're competent at all, then the judge, there's rulings on your side now, so calling a judge and saying, hey, like, I have game, that just kind of works now. So that's it for this one. I definitely have more video ideas that I'm working on. I'm going to be doing some more collaborations, and I hope you guys keep on returning. Till then, see ya.